here with Coach Tripp Otis, Jasper Vikings, the Class 5A state duels champions of the state of Alabama, man. How does that sound?
Yeah, so this is the first opportunity I've ever had to be on a team state, just a team winning a state title, and so it's ecstatic, especially here at Jasper High School. I think they said it was 52 years since Jasper, won a state title in wrestling. So yeah, it's big for us.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm glad you brought that up because a team, a dual team title is so different than a collection of individuals. And we've seen that now that the duels have become so huge. Every person plays a part in
That's right.
the victory.
That's absolutely right. Our goal was to put the 14 best wrestlers out there on the mat, and some guys made sacrifices and bumped up. And we had to do a little moving around with our lineup throughout the entire dual state. So it was a total team effort. Really, really proud of our guys for that.
That's cool. I talked to a lot of coaches, and they talked about it was so important for the kids to be selfless, to really take one for the team and do what was necessary to put themselves in the right spots. Was that hard to ask those kids to do that, or were those kids just ready to do?
We've got an incredible group of kids out here. They're all hard workers, and so they knew the sacrifices that needed to happen. The biggest one was probably our 195 having to go to 220 just because of a big bump there in size. But that was Cole Carter, who's our returning state champion, and we knew that Cole would probably be ready for the challenge, and he did extremely well.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So let's go back in time. It's been about a couple of weeks now, and you guys are headed to you guys are taking on Arab in the first round. And Arab has, a reputation. They've been around for a long time, and you guys, for me, you've been climbing over the years, getting better and closer, and everything else. What was the message to the team heading into a matchup with, frankly, a really dominant team over the last several years?
Yeah, so the last time we kind of matched up in a situation like this with Arab was back in 2020, and that match came down to the very last duel, and that was in the quarterfinals, and we came up just short against Arab, and so we knew that we could wrestle with them. Obviously, they've been a powerhouse for years, since I was in high school. Right. And so, we knew that we could. Arab has lost some guys. They graduated, I think, 8 seniors last year. So we knew that there was an opportunity for our guys to really step up, and they did. Especially, we did some bumping and some moving, and then once again there was some sacrifice in there. But the message was clear that our guys knew that they could win, and they knew that they could at least compete with Arab.
Yeah, well, and you guys got that win, and on paper, and I wasn't in the gym, but on the paper, it didn't look all that close. There were some tight matches and
Sure.
some tough matches, but it's not like it came down to the final match or anything. So
no, we were pretty blessed there. Yeah, we were pretty blessed there. We random drew heavyweight, which was an interesting one to start at. You rarely start there. And Arab bumped up Kinnear, who's the returning state champion. He was at Buckhorn last year. They bumped him up to wrestle our heavy. And actually, our heavyweight put him on his back twice. It was an exciting first match. Really, really exciting. But Kinnear's a solid wrestler, was able to fight off both times, and ended up getting the win there. And they won a couple in a row, and so it got our nerves going a little early. But the guys are the middle of our lineup and the upper weights are kind of our strength there, and so we knew that we could continue to fight and push through those early losses.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the weights, because I think if you look at like Ethan Caldwell and Antonio Nash, obviously your kids like Cole Carter and them, you knew you were. I don't want to say you knew you were getting points from them, but I think you knew what the expectations were, right?
Absolutely.
But then you got like Cortez Samuels, and we're gonna get to him later. But you got some others that are in the lineup who came through huge in all 3 of the duels.
Absolutely, yeah. We were preaching bonus points like crazy. there's some times where you know that you're the better wrestler, and you can look at paper, you can look at records, and you can say that you're supposed to get bonus points in this. And so we really preached, if you're out there, we need pins, we need tags, we really really do. And Arab was really really strategic about fighting so hard to not get up pins. It was really, I wouldn't call it stalling, I would call it just, they were very smart about positions. Me and Kyle Routon over there, it was a good back and forth kind of chess match and specific weights. And there was one time I think Ethan Caldwell was about to get a tech, and they chose neutral. I think it was 13-0. They chose neutral just to give it the takedown. And so, or maybe it was 14, I can't remember. And so we had to get a little strategic to where Ethan got taken down, got a reversal, and ended up pinning the kid. So it was a very creative back and forth chess match in that Arab, for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, then you guys advance and you take on Hayden. And again, I think they faced Scottsboro in the first round, and they wrestled extremely well. So you had this team coming in that was kind of like you guys, a little bit of kind of feeling pretty high about that win. What was the message? Did the message change as you went into Hayden for the kids, or was it still like do your job, that sort of thing?
Well, it was still do your job sort of thing, but when we wrestled Hayden in the region finals, our 138 Cooper Brooks actually beat Evan Phillips, who was the number one kid at the weight class at the time.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge swing for us. Well, then unfortunately Cooper injured himself and hurt his foot and was unable to wrestle in the match against Hayden the second time in the semifinals. And so that's a big swing, right? Evan Phillips is a really good wrestler. Hayden has wrestled lights out this year. And so the fact that this is nothing against Hayden, but I thought Scottsboro would be the team that we wrestled, honestly.
Right.
And so, and Hayden they had to do a bunch of bumping just kind of like we did, and they beat them. And it was an absolute, that was a big shock. So we knew that they were going to be ready. Us being down our starting 138 was going to be tough. And so, my nerves were through the roof that day. I won't lie to you. I was, I was probably not very fun to be around, because I knew that, I knew what they had. They had about 5 or 6 just really solid wrestlers, and the others are good too. Like they're not probably going to go out there and get 6, but they can get some wins that would shock you. Mm-hmm. And so, I was a mess that day. I won't lie to
you. Well, one of the things that stuck out to me as I was looking through the different things was one of your kids, Luke Horsley, who I think took a loss in Arab. He took a 10-8 loss against Hayden, but he was it looked like he was in really both of those matches, and he was going to be somebody you're going to need against Tallis. So after a kid gives up those 2 losses, how do you, I know you'd say keep chin up, it's the next match up, that sort of thing. Was there anything special you said to him?
Yeah, Luke, what's so funny about Luke? Luke wrestled in middle school for us, and he took a year or 2 off. Just didn't know if he wanted to wrestle. He came back this year, and it was almost like it was a natural fit for him, and he remembered things. He still got some things to work out, but I think he lost to Rowe against Arab, who is a really good wrestler, and that's what we were preaching to him. Like I think he lost by 1 or 2 to Rowe, and then he lost to McGill from Hayden, who's also a really good wrestler, who he had beaten at the region duels. So Luke has put himself in great positions. And so he knows that he can wrestle with just about anybody in 5A, especially. And so we just kept preaching to him, like, just continue to push. Let's work on you. He's got a really good fireman's carry that he's been working on, and that's kind of what we preached against the Tallahassee team too for him.
Cool. Well, you head to Friday. You have a few days between the win and Friday. And I've asked all the Alabama coaches this because I'm really interested in everybody's perspective. In Georgia, the 8 teams get together and you wrestle all in a day. Florida, the same thing happens. In this situation, you have some breaks that occur. And, with a team that has just gotten 2 kind of big emotional wins, I don't know, do you want that break so you can kind of recalibrate and figure things out? Or do you really want to just keep going?
I'll be honest. If it was me, I'd want to keep going. I'd love to do it in one day. That way we're in the moment, we're fresh, we're ready. It's been exhausting, spreading the state duels out. That's an exhausting grind because every day your focus is on that match, and it's literally all I can think about is when we got to wrestle Arab and planning that and planning lineups, and I get obsessed about it. So it can be exhausting for the kids too. And so I would love to definitely do it one day, and do all of it and let that be it. But I will say it does allow you a little bit of planning. It
Right.
allows you to do some scouting, which is great. Obviously really good. It helped us in a few of those matches, especially.
Well, it doesn't hurt my feelings because then I can talk about the next match.
That is true.
When I'm talking about Georgia or Alabama or Florida, I'm talking about these are the 8 teams. This could happen or this could happen, and it's hard to kind of project because so many different things can happen. And it's chaos a lot of the time. So being able to,
That's
from
true.
my perspective, anyway. So not that I get to say it all. So
right.
As we move to Tallahassee, again, maybe a team that you weren't necessarily expecting in the finals, but a super good team, top to bottom. Their kids always come to compete and everything else. And, you guys, you get the start at 126. I believe that's where you started, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
126. And that's 2 of your best kids right there. Is that something that you want to start with? Do you want to kick it off and get some momentum going? Or do you want those kids in your back pocket in case it comes down to it?
Yeah, I against Arab and against Hayden, we kind of started at weight classes that weren't necessarily our strength, so I kind of had those in the back pocket there. And so going into the finals, it was definitely different. I won't lie to you. But once again, we were preaching bonus points big time, and starting off with Ethan, I think he ended up getting a major. We were really hoping for a pin there. I won't lie to you. So him just getting a major, the kid who wrestled was a very good wrestler, but we were hoping for a pin there. So
yeah,
it was very different. Something funny about it, we haven't won a coin toss the whole entire state duels. We have lost every single one of them. So the choice was always against us. That was what was so funny about it too.
And you lost it in that match as well.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Lost it against Arab, lost it against Hayden, lost it against, and that was a big part of our plan was them having to send first and things like that.
Yeah. So you get the wins, but you knew Tallahassee was going to come back. You got Land Bell in there, you got Christian McCary in there. They were going to come back. Then you hit kind of the kids that we talked about earlier, your upper middleweights, your Carter Reed, who seems to always kind of step in and stop any kind of momentum that the other team has. Luke Horsley, Cole Carter, those individuals, Jamie Burnham, those individuals. So you're going to come back around as we're hitting like Cole Carter finishes, and there's only 4 matches left, and we're talking a duel that has gone back and forth. You're looking down your lineup and you're going, are you feeling confident? Are you a little nervous? How are you feeling?
I was extremely nervous. Cole Carter wrestled a tough kid at 220. Once again, there's a big weight difference there with Cole weighing around 195. And so the kid was just stubborn. He was tough Cole dominated the match, won 7-0, but was unable to, literally was trying to run around and doing everything he could. And so going into heavyweight, I was nervous because Colin, our heavyweight, is a fireball, man. He's 100 miles an hour. And so I knew that Cole could go out there and perform. Colin could go out there and get us a pin. But if he didn't, all of the what ifs kind of started playing in my head at that point, for sure. And I was extremely nervous. I won't lie to you, I wasn't very confident at that point.
Well, and he gets the win. And then they move to, Rutland Phillips, who obviously gets them back the same amount of points. But giving that 6 for 6, it sounds like that's something that you were like, I'm 100% okay with that.
I was 100% okay with that. We have struggled. My original plan at the beginning of the season was Cortez Samuels to be the 108, but certification wouldn't allow him to go that low. And so we've had a young man, a little 7th grader named Leo Garcia, who has stepped in and has really helped us not forfeit. I always think about ever going down to tie breaking criteria and things like that, and forfeits are included in that. And so Leo's a little seventh grader. He wrestles tough, man, but he weighs 95 pounds, and against the Phillips kid, it was just going to be really tough for him. And so, we kind of knew that we were most likely going to give up 6 there. And so it would come down to 13 and 20 for us.
So I was listening. I watched on track wrestling and everything else. And boy, when Cortez got the ball, I mean, it just kind of erupted. It was so loud, at least through what I could hear, and it just sounded like it just kind of a little bit of pandemonium. Like, what was your feeling at that moment?
It almost didn't feel real. It was just pure joy for sure. Because I mean, Jasper has a great community, great group of kids. The parents here are great, and so I'm just so proud because I came here I think 9 years ago, and I remember going to tournaments with 6 kids, and being done even in the first day and stuff like that. And so the growth that has happened from that to now. I remember we were in the semifinals against Hayden. We had a bunch of the alumni come back who I've coached here, and they were all here supporting the guys, and they're a big part of it. And so I think for our wrestling community here, it was just pure joy. I mean, we've not had an opportunity like this, and so I hope we can continue to build on it.
So when everything is said and done, and this is my last question, but when everything's said and done, and like you and the assistant coaches are, you got the kids back, and you're just kind of, there's no distraction, right? Everything's kind of settled down a little bit. Everybody's still excited, but what did you say to them?
We talked about courage. That's kind of been a big part of it because, wrestling against Arab and wrestling against Hayden in the semifinals, that can be scary. That can be scary for a lot of our kids. And so we talked about having courage and kind of riding the wave of the duels because we know where we've got some real high points and we got some low points. So we just kind of sat them down and told them how huge this was. Coach Hezzy Morgan, who's my assistant, he's been a wrestling coach at Dora High School up in Michigan. He's been all over the place. And he said in the 50 years that he's been around wrestling, he's never won a team title. And so it was big for him too. It was big for everyone in our program. And so we were just so overjoyed for our kids, but we now are trying to push forward to the sectional. And so you got to kind of change a little mindset here, and get everybody's focus back on the individual part of it now.
Yeah. And that's where I wanted to leave you is I wanted to say first, congratulations on the win. And
thank you so much.
What a great run. And number 2, good luck because there's still goals in front. And I know those individuals are really interested in it, and a team making a run for a traditional team title as well. So I want to wish you the best of luck over the next 3 weeks as you guys do that.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.